थांब 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 एक मिनिट थांब महाराजांना
Please everyone together, very, very loudly. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Shri Ram Ram Sankirtan Yajna ki Jai. Hare Go Premanande. Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Krishna Thakur ki Jai. Giriraj Maharaj ki Jai.
Is that couple from Croatia? Um, okay, yeah. I'll need a table for the book. Okay.
Hare Krishna. We are very fortunate and have good fortune and honor and privilege to have His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj. Maharaj is a very, very dear disciple of Srila Prabhupada. He was known as Glenn Philip Etten, the only son of a Chicago lawyer who later on became a judge. In fact, Maharaj's father offered Prabhupada a blank check, but Prabhupada chose a better offer. Instead of the blank check, he chose the better treasure, which is in the form of the personality of His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj. And at one point of time, there was the ISKCON movement was termed as brainwashing. So there were so many devotees who were being tested for it. And one psychiatrist once, when they were appointed, and they had an interview with Maharaj, I believe it was almost for about an hour or so. And then the psychiatrist said that he is permanently infected. And then Maharaj told this to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada was very happy to hear that he is so very soaked in Krishna consciousness. So in April 1969, while studying at Brandeis University of Boston, he met his Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder of National Society for Krishna Consciousness, from whom he felt he learned in the first exchange with Srila Prabhupada. He felt he learned more than what he studied in the entire academics. And after graduating, he accepted formal initiation from Srila Prabhupada and received the spiritual name Giriraj Dasi. And he became a leading member in the Boston Center and was very soon given the opportunity to come to India. In around 1972, Maharaj was appointed as temple president. Along with that, as a trustee for the BBT. So this particular year, 2022, marks 50 years of Maharaj being appointed as the president of ISKCON Jammu. And since then, he has made significant contributions to the Prabhupada's mission, most notably the aspects of development of Hare Krishna land in Jammu, Bombay. He was instrumental in acquisition and development of Bhaktivedanta Ashram in Govardhan and led the development of Kirtan Ashram for women, Bhaktivedanta Hospice, and the Vrindavan Institute of Palliative Care, all in Vrindavan. Through his efforts, Giriraj Swami has become renowned for his austerities, for his loyalty, for his dedication. He is generally known as Prabhupada man. Very, very faithful and very loyal to Srila Prabhupada. And very notably, he is famous for fundraising, particularly the Guru episode. I heard one incident about this, that particularly when Maharaj had visited a rich man and he was reluctant to give money, Lakshmi. But then he said, I can give you a new car, but then this car is only valid for one day. If you want, you can take this for one day. Some of us may reject it and say, what will you do with this for one day? But Maharaj utilized that for one day. And he went to another rich man, I believe it was
Birla.
For that one day, the new car, Maharaj went to Birla's, and in that one day, he ensured that he got a huge sponsorship for the Bombay project. And in the year following Srila Prabhupada's departure in 1977, Giriraj Maharaj, he was awarded the Renounced Order of Life and appointed president of ISKCON's Board of Trustees in India. In 1982, he was appointed as ISKCON's Governing Body Commission (GBC), and he went on to oversee the society's activities in Bombay, Mauritius, South Africa, Spain, Portugal, Sri Lanka, and
Pakistan. So Giriraj Maharaj is also taught in BIHE, Brindavan Institute of Higher Education, and continues to lecture and presentations at the Japan workshops around the world. Particularly in the month of Kartik, there are a lot of Japan retreats that Maharaj is famous for, along with Sachinandan Maharaj and others. Presently based in Carpinteria, California. So Giriraj Maharaj is now focusing on one of the main
Personal instruction that was given to him by Srila Prabhupada, which is to write books. So he has written he's author of very famous books. Particularly, we can see here Watering the Seed, Life's Final Exam, Death, and the latest one, of course, of the many modes talking about the latest different disciples of Srila Prabhupada, and the latest one, which is I Build You a Temple, the Jew story. Very fascinating and very adventurous, and Maharaj is very well known for his writing as well. So he's also working on books about the search of a spiritual master in his early days in the Boston Temple, his travels with Srila Prabhupada in India, and Vaishnava Holy Days. So these are the upcoming books that Maharaj will be coming up with. So we are very extremely fortunate, very blessed by the presence of His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. Loudly welcome.
I've completed the manuscript of the next book about traveling with Srila Prabhupada in India. And I'm scheduled to give classes at NVCC on Saturday and Sunday mornings. And on request, I will be reading from that book, forthcoming book. And there are 13 chapters. We went to 13 different places. And one of the places was Indore, where Srila Prabhupada was invited for Gita Jayanti celebration. So since we're in the month of Gita Jayanti and the month of Gita Marathon, I'll read that chapter one of the days, and then probably I'll read the chapter about Surat, where Srila Prabhupada and the devotees received an amazing reception. So I'll begin by singing the Mangalacharna prayers and leading a short kirtan, and then I will read and speak from Bhagavad Gita. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsa Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Savana Raghunatham Vitam Sam Sahiram Sadvaitam Savaduta Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Shiva Guru Deva. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Prajakacharya Stotras Dasi Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariprajakacharya Stotras Dasi Srimad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasana Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Shamunamayi Ki Jai, Nangamayi Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We shall read from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 3, Karma Yoga, text 10. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Saha Yagya Praja Shristva Purovacha Prajapati Anena Prasavishyadvam Esha Vo Stvishta Kama Duk Sahayagya Prajashristva Purovacha Prajapati Anena Prasavishyadvam Esha Vostvishta Kamadu Saha along with Yagya sacrifices Praja generations Sristva creating Pura anciently Uvacha said Prajapati the Lord of creatures Anena by this Prasavishyadvam be more and more prosperous. Esha this Va your Astu let it be Ishta of all desirable things Kamaduk bestower. Translation. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, be thou happy by this yajna sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation. Please repeat. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, be thou happy by this yajna sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The material creation by the Lord of creatures, Vishnu, is a chance offered to the conditioned souls to come back home, back to Godhead. All living entities within the material creation are conditioned by material nature because of their forgetfulness of their relationship to Vishnu or Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Principles are to help us understand this eternal relation, as it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Vedais Sarvair Aham Eva Vedya. The Lord says that the purpose of the Vedas is to understand Him. In the Vedic hymns, it is said, Patim Vishvasyat Meshwaram. Therefore, the Lord of the living entities is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. In the Srimad Bhagavatam also, 2:420, Srila Shukadev Goswami describes the Lord as Pati in so many ways. Shriya Patir Yagyapati Prajapatir Diyam Patir Lokapatir Darapati Patir Gatis Chandaka Vrishni Sattvatam Prasidatam Me Bhagavan Satam Pati. The Prajapati is Lord Vishnu, and he is the Lord of all living creatures, all worlds, and all beauties, and the protector of everyone. The Lord created the material world to enable the conditioned souls to learn how to perform yajnas for the satisfaction of Vishnu, so that while in the material world they can live comfortably without anxiety, and after finishing the present material body, they can enter into the kingdom of God. That is the whole program for the conditioned soul. So there's more to the purport, but I'll just comment here that this verse offers the conditioned souls a wonderful opportunity. In fact, it could not be better. Uh, Be thou happy by this yajna, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation. So by performance of sacrifice, we can live happily in the material world, uh, relatively comfortably, without anxiety, and in the end, we become liberated and go back home, back to Godhead. So it's a perfect formula, and it bestows upon the conditioned souls all benefit, both in the present life, in the material world, and in the next life, in the spiritual world. The Lord created this material world to enable the conditioned souls to learn how to perform yajnas, sacrifices, for the satisfaction of Vishnu, so that while in the material world, they can live very comfortably without anxiety, and after finishing the present material body, they can enter into the kingdom of God. That is the whole program for the conditioned soul. By performance of yajna, the conditioned souls gradually become Krishna conscious and godly in all respects. Now, how to perform yajna, especially in the present age of Kali. In the age of Kali, the Sankirtan Yajna, the chanting of the names of God, is recommended by the Vedic scriptures. And this transcendental system was introduced by Lord Chaitanya for the deliverance of all men in this age. So Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself, but he descended in the age of Kali as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the role of a devotee to show us how to worship Krishna and serve Krishna. Srila Prabhupada gives the example that the teacher who is instructing the students in the alphabet will write on the board A, B, C. It looks like the teacher is practicing writing the alphabet, but actually the teacher does not need to practice writing the alphabet. The teacher is just showing the students how to do it. So in the same way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu demonstrated the activities of a devotee, not because he needed to do so for himself, but to teach us. And he showed by his own example the importance of chanting the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And through this method, he bestowed love of Godhead. Srila Rupa Goswami appreciated the appearance of Lord Chaitanya in the following verse. Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratushe Namaha. Namo Mahavaranyaya. Mahavaranyaya means most munificent incarnation. Namo Krishna Prema Pradayate, because he is giving love of Krishna. Krishnaya Krishna. Although he is Krishna, he is not blackish like Krishna, but he has assumed a golden complexion, the hue of Srimati Radharani. Gauratushe Namaha. I offer my obeisances to him. So Lord Chaitanya has demonstrated how by performance of the Sankirtan Yajna, one can develop love of Godhead, which is the ultimate perfection of life. In the age of Kali, the Sankirtan Yagya, the chanting of the names of God, is recommended by the Vedic scriptures. Harinama, Harinama, Harinami Vikulam, Kalona Stevana, Stevana, Stevakatirana. One should chant the holy names, chant the holy names, chant the holy names of Hari Krishna. There's no other way, no other way, no other way for success in this Kali Yuga. That's in the Brihadaranyaka Purana. So in the age of Kali, the Sankirtan Yagya, the chanting of the names of God, is recommended by the Vedic scriptures. And this transcendental system was introduced by Lord Chaitanya for the deliverance of all men in this age. Sankirtan Yagya and Krishna consciousness go well together. In other words, if you want to become Krishna conscious, you should perform Sankirtan Yagya. And if you perform Sankirtan Yagya, you will become Krishna conscious. So Sankirtan Yagya and Krishna consciousness go well together. Lord Krishna, in his devotional form, as Lord Chaitanya, is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam 11:532 as follows, with special reference to the Sankirtan Yagya. Krishna Varnam Tvisa Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam Yagyai Sankirtana Prayar Yajanti Sumedasa. In this age of Kali, people who are endowed with sufficient intelligence will worship the Lord, who is accompanied by his associates by performance of Sankirtan Yagya. So Krishna Varnam, Varnam means category, like we have the four Varnas. So Krishna Varna means he's in the category of Krishna. In other words, he is Krishna. And Varna can also mean to glorify. So Krishna Varnam also means that he's engaged in glorifying Krishna. Krishna Varnam, we saw Krishna, but his complexion is not blackish like Krishna. Sangopangastra Parshadam, and he's accompanied by his, well, it's literally by the weapons of his associates. Yagyai Sankirtana Prayar, and they perform Sankirtan Yagya. Yajanti hi Sumedasa, and he is worshipped in that way by those who are intelligent, Sumedasa. So if anyone ever accuses you of being unintelligent, you can say, no, I am very intelligent. It's stated right here in Srimad Bhagavatam that anyone who performs Sankirtan Yagya is Sumedasa, very intelligent, which you are, no doubt. Other yagyas prescribed in the Vedic literatures are not easy to perform in this age of Kali. But the Sankirtan Yagya is easy and sublime for all purposes, as recommended in Bhagavad Gita also 9:14. So many of you would be aware of this verse, 9:14, but still, I'll read it for further confirmation of the same point. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, the most confidential knowledge, text 14. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha drida vritaha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upashate. Translation. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me. These great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Mahatma cannot be manufactured by rubber stamping an ordinary man. His symptoms are described here. A Mahatma is always engaged in chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. So yeah, the first three words summarize the activities of a Mahatma or a devotee. Satatam, always. Kirtayanta, chanting, engaging in kirtan, glorifying. Mam, about me, Krishna. He has no other business. He is always engaged in the glorification of the Lord. The Mahatma is always engaged in different activities of devotional service as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing and chanting about Vishnu, not a demigod or human being. That is devotion. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, and Smaranam. Remember him. Such a Mahatma has firm determination, Jidavrata, firm determination to achieve at the ultimate end the association of the Supreme Lord in any one of the five transcendental rasas. To achieve that success, he engages all activities, mental, bodily, and vocal, everything, in the service of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. That is called full Krishna consciousness. As described in the second verse of this chapter, not only is this devotional service easy, but it can be performed in a happy mood. One does not need to undergo any severe penance and austerity. He can live this life in devotional service, guided by an expert spiritual master, and in any position, either as a householder or a sannyasi or a brahmachari, in any position and anywhere in the world, he can perform this devotional service to the Godhead and thus become actually Mahatma, a great soul. When I was in the Boston Temple in late 1969 and most of 1970, we would go out into the Boston Commons and perform Harinam Sankirtan. And along with the Sankirtan party, we would distribute literature. At that time, mainly Back to Godhead magazines. And about a block away from the Boston Commons was an important street in the downtown business section. And for some reason, I had to leave the Sankirtan party to get something on that street. And I was walking down the street dressed as I was as a brahmachari. Some, apparently ordinary American middle-aged gentleman saw me and he started going like this, Mahatma, 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 which I thought was quite amusing, but it also, I think he probably made some spiritual advancement from that little act. So yeah, Mahatma. So the conclusion is that whenever possible, we should engage in Sankirtan Yoga by chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Now, if any of you have any questions or comments, Maharaj, would you like to add anything? So if any of you have any questions or comments, you can raise your hand. There's a hand up in the back.
We hear in this verse that our life will be, as you said, relatively comfortable, and we can happily practice yagya and then attain liberation. And also, I was thinking about this story from Krishna book where when he entered Mathura, then there were some people who were like not supportive, like didn't want to give clothes, and then he killed them, and some other they gave garlands and place. And then Krishna gave a blessing like you can live happily in this world as long as you like, have as much like enjoyment, and then you will come back to me, no problem. And then they sound like encouraging that we can also, we who are, I who are not so like able to perform some austerities, also attain liberation and Krishna. But from other side, we see those devotees who are really surrendered. They do so much sacrifices. They chant so many extra rounds. They go so much, like out of their way to attain Krishna. They long so much, and they, for example, I just read this book about Indra Prabhu, and I just got overwhelmed. My God, how many austerities he did in his life. And we see also like Satyananda Swami, your good self, and so many other devotees like Sikh Goswamis. And then we think that I'm just thinking like this. Is it, what is there? Is it really like we can live comfortably, or we have to do all of those sacrifices even though like maybe we're not qualified? So I'm just a little bit confused, please.
The idea is that by performance of yoga, one gets whatever he needs to live comfortably. But that doesn't mean that he will just stay at home and enjoy the comfort. He can voluntarily leave his comfort zone for the greater cause of doing service to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada and the conditioned souls. Lord Chaitanya himself had everything. He had a beautiful, faithful wife, a loving mother. In that sense, there is no reason for him to take sannyas. But he did take sannyas to show mercy to the fallen souls. So although a devotee has the facility to live comfortably by performance of yoga, still he may give up his comfortable situation for a higher cause to spread Krishna consciousness. And in a way, these are tests, as Srila Prabhupada said of himself. First, Krishna tested me by taking everything away. And then Krishna tested me by giving me everything. So the test is, will we stay with Krishna and service to Krishna, or will we try to enjoy? So Krishna took everything away. That's also a test. Are we going to stay with Krishna or try to get back the things he took away? And Krishna gives us everything. That's also a test. Are we going to try to enjoy what Krishna gave us, or are we going to use everything in Krishna's service for his pleasure? And different devotees have different roles to play. Like Ramananda Rai, he lived in great opulence. He was a pure devotee, and the six Goswamis, as you mentioned, they lived very simply. They were also pure devotees. They had different roles to play in Lord Chaitanya's mission. But yeah, that was a good question. Good point. Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Question is, we stay amongst devotees and practice. So when we stay in devotees, the community and all that, so we happen to see that lot of faults, which may be true, may not be, but sometimes we pursue also out of our tendencies, our behavior. So we think probably they are at fault, or we see something wrong in them. So how do we protect ourselves from Vaishnava aparadha? Because we cannot go away from them also. If we go away from them, we will become slack in our Krishna consciousness. So they are our protectors, they are our inspiration for practice. But if we go very close or we stay with them, then we tend to see faults in them, owing to our fault finding them also, and then might commit offenses also. So how we can protect ourselves from such a conflict?
It's an important question. Yes, we need the association of devotees to practice Krishna consciousness and progress. But when we associate with them, we might see faults in them, which may or may not be there. Srila Prabhupada described different levels of devotees. The lowest level devotee, he sees a little bad and he makes a big thing of it. Then the next devotee, he sees the good and the bad, but he gives more importance to the bad. Then the next, he sees the good and the bad and he gives equal importance to both. And the next higher devotee, he sees the good and the bad and gives more importance to the good. And the best devotee sees a little good and makes a big thing out of it. So we should try to have that vision. If we see that a devotee needs to be corrected, it may happen, then it's not wrong or offensive. In principle, it's not offensive to correct the devotee. And depending on your position and your relationship with the devotee, you might correct him, very humbly and respectfully. Or if it's important enough and you feel you're not the right person to do it, then you can inform some authority that this devotee needs to be corrected and, maybe can attend to that. So that is not offensive. It depends on your mood. It could be offensive, but in principle, it's not offensive. And as Srila Prabhupada said, if criticism or correction is offered with sympathy, it is more likely to be accepted. So we should do it with sympathy, and not with, arrogance or anger or self-righteousness. But yeah, it's better, in general, it's better to see the good and focus on the good. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, my question is that when you're actually chanting, that you God to engage us in service. Now, obviously, like as time passes, sometimes when we get engaged into service, the nature of the service becomes more and more all-encompassing, it becomes more and more complicated. So, Maharaj, my question is like sometimes the service becomes so big that it requires a teamwork, but the authorities or the temple management or somehow, they are not able to see it from that perspective that for the service to be actually showing proper result, we need more support structure. Just like in the outside world, if you see, like companies have proper structure in place, which actually makes it easy for the employee to put their best. Whereas in our, at least from my perspective, whatever I've seen from my perspective, that the support structure are not in place and the service actually becomes very, very encompassing and the desired result doesn't come out. Especially in the context of temple management, and I think Prabhupada himself might, even asked that question that how this one will run in future, and I think Prabhupada said that it is because of organizational intelligence. So unless we are able to see from a bigger vision and all the seven purposes connection to how the temple will run in the future, it becomes very difficult. So the question is that certain points become not very obvious, and we have to explain them, or we have to
shared in a very different perspective. But if there is nobody to listen to or there is nobody to actually give that importance, then how do we actually take care of this service?
Well, in principle, there are different levels of management in this country. And the first step would be to approach your immediate authority. But if your immediate authority does not consider what you're saying, then you could approach the next higher authority. Or it may be that the authority would take the suggestion better coming from someone else. And in that case, you could approach someone who's maybe closer to the authority and in whom the authority has more faith and confidence, and point out to that person the need for improvement, and let that person approach the authority. Yeah, we have to be intelligent how we, I mean, seeing a need for improvement is good, it's a beginning, but then implementing the change, it may require some tact in approaching the powers that be to accept it. All right.
Anybody else have questions? From Mataji?
Vishnu, thank you very much for the class. This question I had, and I have listened to answers to that. In India, in general, the people are more religious. Like taking the reference from this verse, that where it says that if the people do sacrifices, they will lead a comfortable life. But that we don't see. Practically, we see that the India is much more like problematic or maybe poverty and there are so many issues, corruption and all those things as compared to other countries. So how do we understand this point that all the people are more well aware about religious things or spiritual aspects, but still there are so many things unwanted for this thing?
I recall an exchange with Srila Prabhupada in Bombay in 1963. We were staying at Seaface Park. There were complications in June. We were staying at Seaface Park. And in the evening, Srila Prabhupada would speak to the devotees about the nectar of devotion. But sometimes an outsider would hear that Srila Prabhupada was speaking. And he would come, and then Srila Prabhupada would change the level from the nectar of devotion to the Bhagavad Gita. So one evening, a big Hindu came, and he asked Srila Prabhupada that India is a land of Mahatmas, yet India has so many problems. One would think that in a land of Mahatmas there should be no problems. But why does India have so many problems? And Srila Prabhupada replied, the reason India has so many problems is because you cannot distinguish between who is a Mahatma and who is not a Mahatma. And, um, and then he went on to explain who is a Mahatma. So it's true, India has the knowledge, and if it took the knowledge to heart and applied it, then there shouldn't be all the problems that we see in India now. And um, where Krishna consciousness has been adopted, in those communities at least, we don't see those problems much. I mean, it can happen. Uh, Even a devotee or aspiring devotee can be affected by Maya and do something that he shouldn't do. But overall, um, things will progress because the overall intention is to follow Srila Prabhupada and, Sadhu Shastra Guru. And so at least where Krishna consciousness is implemented, we don't find those problems. Maybe to some small degree, but not like in the general society.
Thank you, Maharaj, for the I had a question. In Rajasthan Ashram, we have certain amount of independence, and there is not so much scrutiny happening on a daily lifestyle. And so what happens that when at least speaking about myself, we tend to have a tendency to procrastinate taking Shadra Krishna in the process seriously. And
You have a tendency to what?
to procrastinate or postpone.
Oh, procrastinate. Yeah, postpone.
Yeah, so and then in the name of justifying what different stages of life which we are going through. So the mind tends to justify, okay, it is all right to justify your procrastination because you are going through this certain stage of life currently. So, and also authorities, we see not be so much pushy on the stars. I mean, they allow them to experience that kind of independence. So, so I just wanted to hear from you how do we avoid falling into trap of such kind of activities, and what would be the instructions in general for us to actually make sure that we are on the right line.
Well, if you don't want to be too complacent in your grihastha ashram, then you can approach some temple authority or a friend, even devotee, to check on you. Sometimes devotees send me, they themselves volunteer because they feel they'll do better if they're accountable. So they'll send me a monthly report or whatever of their how many rounds they chant, what time they got up in the morning, how many rounds they chanted, when they chanted them, how much they read. And so it could help if you had someone to whom you're accountable, and you make a note of your activities, and then you send the record to someone to review your performance. if that's what you want. Um, and when you say procrastinate about what?
I mean, of course, after we take Diksha from the system, we definitely chant 16 rounds daily and do reading, hearing, and but then, I mean, to be able to take out extra, I mean, time in our life wherein we go and contribute, I mean, to serve to the society, I mean, in terms of like, doing some service, right? That,
Yes, we should, definitely.
right? So then here, at times, when to take the little back seat and,
Oh, I see.
so rather than like, going outwardly and, so he is, I mean, come out of this kind of thing.
Well, I would say if you want to make a contribution, you should commit yourself to some service. And that even if you have a little lethargy or tendency to procrastinate, but you've committed yourself and so you have to do it. I think that's be an important factor in your spiritual development to make some contribution to the mission. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Maharaj. I mean, we always find that we continue with basic minimum, and at right time we'll be able to probably, come out and serve in a better way. So maybe I got answer Maharaj that we have to always kind of, go bit extra from our comfort zone and try to be in that area where like, we are refreshed and then be able to serve better.
Yeah, yeah. You shouldn't procrastinate when it comes to serving the mission.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Also, we see that in your own life also, a lot of commitments you had, personal elements, a lot of wealth was there. And even when you were serving at the home, there was a lot of there was once the elements of opposite sex also was offered to you, but then you overcome all of them. You know. So how did you develop that determination? Because we, especially I see that whenever there is some small elements come, I tend to fall prey to them. So how you really conquer over those big elements? You can help us. So
My priority was always Srila Prabhupada. And there's
Uh,
the principle of Sharanagati, surrender, and there are 6 divisions. Anukulyasya Sankalpa, Pratikulyasya Varjana. First 2 are to accept whatever
is favorable and reject whatever is unfavorable. So I thought that something was unfavorable for my service to Srila Prabhupada, unfavorable to Srila Prabhupada's interests. I rejected it because my priority was Srila Prabhupada. And if something was favorable, I accepted it. So we have to, yeah, be focused, on Srila Prabhupada and the Parampara and what they would want, and accept what's favorable and reject what's unfavorable. Yes.
even today mention that Lord, Lord creates this world as an opportunity for every soul to go back to Him. So my question is when Prahlad Maharaj was being tormented by his father, then he did not saw him as his enemy. So how he could do that? Like he was day in day out was being troubled or tormented by his own father, but he must be seeing that as a blessing. So how he could do, and in let's say in our life or in my life, sometimes our near or dear ones uh, act in such a way that we feel that they are our enemy. But as the Lord has created this world as an opportunity to go back to Him, so how we can see that actually the person, uh, uh, there are many people near and dear ones around us in family, so they are not my enemy but as a blessing of Lord. So how we can see that even being tormented by them in some or other way.
As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Thomas continues
Just for
to tolerate. And without being able to tolerate, you cannot survive. And of course, Prahlad
tolerated a lot. But he was able to do so because he was constantly remembering Krishna. In all circumstances, he always remembered Krishna. So on one level, we have to tolerate, as Srila Prabhupada sometimes said, we have to tolerate. What else can we do? That's on one level. But then on the other level, we should be absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. The example is given of the lotus flower, that the roots and the stem are in the water, but the flower is above the water. So we should be in the world, but not of the world. And but if someone is tormenting you, it might not be good for them. So from that perspective, if it's appropriate, you could maybe ask them why they do that and hear what they have to say and see if they could adopt another method of behavior. Um, it reminds me of the serenity prayer, they call it serenity prayer, which goes, God grant me the uh, patience to tolerate what can't be changed. God give me the courage to change what can be changed. And God give me the intelligence to discriminate between the two. All right, so if there are no more questions or comments, what's next?
Particularly reminding how devotees are very intelligent people are taking shape of the process. And especially thanks for the extra question answers that you have. The answer to this question and for the clarity of thoughts, you mentioned about vision, different types of vision. Some if you look at good and bad, but the highest one is to focus particularly on the good part of it. And the last was the icing on the cake, talking about the patience, courage, and intelligence to discriminate between the part of it. Thank you very much. So, so now that we are also honored by the presence of Mr. Swami Maharaj, and particularly tomorrow's class at
Very Mandir will be given by His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj on Thursday morning. Friday morning, Maharaj will be giving, Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj will be giving class at NVCC, Srimad Bhagavatam class. And the Saturday and the Sunday will be a special class by His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. As Maharaj already mentioned, he will be talking about from the manuscript, the book which is not yet released. For that, if you want to hear, we have to be here for Saturday and Sunday at NVCC Srimad Bhagavatam class. Hari Bol. So now we have a special cake cutting ceremony, one for Maharaj and one for in honor of His Holiness Radhika Swami Maharaj. It is his appearance day from date wise, as 7th December. So there are two cakes which Maharaj is lovingly agreed to cut. Hare Krishna. Hari Bol.
I should mention,
Once
visited His Holiness Radhika Swami Maharaj at his father's home in Chicago, and it was December 7th, his birthday. And
with great glee, he played for me an excerpt of a recording that President Franklin Delano Roosevelt gave on December 7th, which was the day Pearl Harbor was bombed. And President Roosevelt said that this date will live in infamy. So Radhanaswamy he was, he was saying like, okay, it's December 7th, my birthday, this day will live in infamy. But of course, I said, you have made it famous, not infamous. So, yeah, that's today.
Krishna